Well, how you doing, sir?
Hello, Ubi.
How's it going? Can you hear me?
Okay, Ubi, how are you?
I'm very well, sir. How you doing, sir?
Okay, all right then. So it's clearer now. I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. So I started this live series on Monday where I felt I should invite a few people that have inspired me, a few people that have friends and family that also inspire others out there to come and talk to people on my Instagram live where I throw out a few questions and
Sure.
they'll come back with answers. So first of all, how is our mommy?
She's tolerating me. Tolerating.
First of all, no, you have to first I tell your kids that we appreciate them for sharing her with us because it's our mother as well.
Yeah. They understand. They know that. Yeah.
All right, let's go right into it. I know there was a time where it was actually when you say comedy, the first person they call is Alibaba. But right before your eyes, you've actually been instrumental in a lot of people's success in the comedy industry, where we have seen that in the entertainment industry, the comedy industry is one of the part of the entertainment industry that you see the older ones helping the younger ones to grow, right? So
Yeah, because
how did you feel seeing all these guys grow before your eyes?
no, it's actually like very rewarding. It is appreciable. It is for us. It's heartwarming to see the number of people that have joined the fold. It's a testimony to the fact that we have done something good that everybody can then think of coming in. If you notice, the reason people run away from any career is because the people who join the career are not doing well. There are not many people that you can see today that claim to be, oh, I work in Nigerian Railway. But you can see people who claim to be bankers. You can see people who claim to be petroleum engineers because of how that sector has grown. These days, when people say, oh, I'm a teacher, people then look down on them because it's not been considered such.
Sorry, sir. Is music playing in your background?
Let me see. Okay, yeah, music was playing in my background. Yes, I always like music. I play music a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, people were
All right.
complaining.
So people, yeah, but now people do not. People now know that you can become a comedian, and if you're a good comedian in a year, you would have broken to the 500 ranks. So yes, I'm very happy to see a lot of them coming in. It is good to see them growing. It is it's good to see the fact that comedy is being replicated in different platforms and on different platforms, and I appreciate that. Yes.
Okay, there was a time we're having a conversation, and you said something that if you don't turn as with your position in the comedy industry, if you don't turn down 500,000, 1 million, 2 million, and step up your fee to where you are meant to be, you will not give an opportunity to the other people to actually come in. So, and that when you said that, I was very, very, it made me feel like this is someone that wants others to grow. So if you say no to 1,500,000, that means you are helping automatically bring in comedians you don't know to fill in those gaps.
Yes. Let me explain that. It is that when you push up your standards, the other people who are below you will then have something to catch up with. It's like breaking there was a time 9.6 seconds was the fastest for 100 meters. Then it was pushed to 8 point something seconds. Then it was pushed to 7. I bet that in another 3-4 years, people will be running 100 meters in sub 7. Sub 7. Those days when Carl Lewis them used to run it at 10 point something, we thought they were very fast. Until Ben Johnson came and did sub 9, and we're like, oh no, it must be drugs. But now people do sub 8, and we hail them. So what I did was that I knew clearly that because of this kind of industry that we're in, if we do not create a standard, it's just like SANs, people who are like SANs, who have you are a senior advocate of Nigeria. and you are doing charge and bill cases. So if you notice, a lot of his sons are the ones that do Supreme Court cases, and also, but if you now start doing case of he hit my car, he did not hit my car, he didn't pay rent, he paid rent or something, then you are getting into the places where the junior lawyers and the upstart lawyers are going to be in. So it's important that we actually help that to grow. Yes. And that's what I did. Turning down, and most times it's not just turning down events because of the prices. It is when somebody makes that claim. Maybe somebody is talking to you about something, and the person says, but you know, we want you to do this event. It is 2 million that we have. We already talked to Benga Deninka. We already talked to Teju Babyface. We already talked to Buffy. We already talked to... at that time, I said, let me check my diary again. I'm actually booked. Because when you do that, what the people are doing is that they're trying to bring the price down by making you see competition.
Yeah.
And when they do that and you jump at it, it's a bait. When they do that and you say, okay, instead of me to lose this 2 million, and so let me just take it since somebody else wants to take it. What they've done is that they've pegged you, and then they can use that to negotiate with somebody else. Alibaba took 2 million from us. So why do you want to take more than that? And it happens a lot. A lot of young comedians have complained about it, about some senior comedians taking something that they also had bidded for. So a young comedian bids for a show for 500K. A senior comedian who should be charging 1.52 million now takes it for 500. You have killed that comedian, because anytime the comedian mentions that price again, they will refer him to the last person they paid, who is like a senior comedian.
You're not just a comedian. You're one person that inspires a lot of us. Like I said before you came on the show, you're one person that has never judged me or judged anybody around you. You always see opportunities in people. If you were to look at, you always sit in a room of many comedians, the young ones, the ones that come to tell you that they are comedians every day, and you give them opportunities through your different platforms. The January 1st event, thank God you had that event before the coronavirus. And also the the spontaneity. I think there's another one. The spontaneity and January 1st. Now, if you were to sit in a room now, let's say there are 1,000 comedians watching you now in their various homes, or guys that want to go into comedy, what would you advise them to do as guys that want to go into comedy right now? Because now two things. But the two things is, people fail to differentiate between comedy and the business of comedy. It's like in music, people tend to differentiate between the music and the business of music. So you also help them put, that's what I want you to explain, the comedy, how to position yourself, and the business of the comedy.
Okay, all right. So first of all, before you go into the business of comedy, you must first have a talent. The talent has to be, it is the talent that you then develop. And when you have the talent, you also then now have to consider that talent based on your strengths. When I say based on your strengths, for instance, if you have a comedic talent, but you do not have the proper English to pass it on, to speak English, then it's best for you to say, okay, this comedy talent that I have, I'm going to express it through pidgin English. If you have a comedic talent, but the comedic talent is not on spontaneous comedy, that is, you cannot hold the mic and begin to make people laugh. You've been one of our judges before at Spontaneity. And you've seen how hard it is for people to even just take a joke, take a topic and make a joke out of it. Okay, so if you are not that kind of comedian, then you then have to then pinpoint what your strengths are. For instance, there are comedians who are good as online comedians, so maybe Instagram comedian. If you put that kind of comedian on stage and give him a mic, he would not succeed. But he's a comedian all the same. That means that his comedy is one that is rehearsed and then is retold, but it's not a spontaneous comedian. But if you're a comedian, just as you have rappers, there are some rappers who cannot create rhymes and bars on the go. But if you give them some raps, they can learn it and begin to deliver it properly. That's how this is. Comedy it's one of the most difficult expressions of entertainment, of showbiz. It is not for upstarts. So when you say you have the talent, you have to first define the kind of talent you have, and then you then hone it hone it and then own it. So you hone it in a way that you begin to, you fertilize it, you do the things that will make it become better. You don't bury it in the ground like the parable of the 3 talents. You develop it and continue to increase it. What then happens is that you then find a market for it. For instance, if your comedy is one that you can use online, you can use on stage, you can use at weddings, everything. Oh, welcome. So you develop it and tailor it to those platforms. The other thing that you have to do is the kind of market that you have for your comedy. For instance, when I started doing stand-up comedy in the late 80s and the early 90s, there were places that some comedians cannot go and perform because you do not have the ability to carry on a joke, because there's a very thin line. So I was performing to Abacha, I was performing to IBB, I was performing to Uki Waves and all the military men, Adisa, General Adisa and the rest of them. So, because they were military boys and I was a boy from the barracks, I could relate with them. Not many people could do that. And so you have to, or these days, the language of the youth, if you do not speak the language of the youth, there are certain jokes that will not cut across to them. Yeah. So you have to be versatile, you have to be dynamic. So all of these have to be considered before you then decide that you're a comedian, because if you then jump on the stage and say, oh, I'm a spontaneous comedian. For instance, there are comedians who can't come on stage as spontaneity. They know that their strength is not in being spontaneous. All right? So you understand that. So your strength is not being spontaneous, so you then just stay away.
So
now, okay. So what I mean is that whatever talent you have to develop it properly, so that people can begin to exactly until you develop a talent into a service. Yeah. You can't make a business out of it. So if you know how to sing and you just sing, it becomes a hobby. But if you know how to sing and you make it a business, then you can make money out of it. You can make a career out of it. Until you can turn it into a business, you can't make a career out of it.
Okay. A lot of people complain that in a year, there's too many comedy shows in a year.
Yep.
And they believe that some people are saying that, it's diluting the essence or the quality of comedy content.
Okay, Ubi, let me just cut you there first.
Okay.
There's not too many comedy shows. Okay. The problem is that we do not have comedy clubs.
Okay.
So we do not have comedy clubs. Like if we had comedy clubs all across the country, what you would then be seeing will be comedy specials.
Yeah.
As they do overseas. Because then you can go to a comedy club to go and watch your favorite comedians, and then you have those comedy clubs that provide you the platform to enjoy stand-up comedy. But we do not have that. Besides, if you notice, stand-up comedy and stand-up comedians are the people that are doing a lot more shows and featuring a lot more upcoming musicians. A lot of musicians do not do shows as regular as comedians do shows.
Definitely.
And sometimes the comedy shows are the platforms that these musicians use to connect with their fans. If you look at it, if you look at the show, a lot of musicians wait till the end of the year before they organize. Big musicians, they wait till the end of the year before they organize shows. You don't even have young musicians who then decide to organize a show for people. No, they fit into other people's shows. And the reason is because as comedians, we connect a lot more with people. Comedians probably make a lot more money too, because the comedians are busy all year round. A comedian can take a mic, earn some money, and walk out. Let's use some very relatable variables. Let's say a comedian does one wedding today, and he performs to maybe 1,000 people at the event. He's done the jokes that he's done at that event. He probably could have another event in 2 weeks, and he'll perform to another 1,000 or 2,000 people. And if he's a big comedian, he probably could have 2,000 or 3,000 people at that place. Even if you have like 3,000 people in that place, he's performed at several events. And so before, in a quarter, he probably has reached out to about like 10,000 people.
Yeah.
You see, it is hard for you to put a concert together for 10,000 people and bring a musician to it without doing serious promo.
Yeah.
But you do not need that for a comedian. So the comedian, the reason is our shows are plenty because we're actually feeling a need. We're feeling a vacuum. We're providing this show because we need to connect with some of it. That's why they get sold out. No matter if people are complaining, but the thing is, look at this. And I'll go to a very sensitive part. It is that somebody says, oh, how can two comedians have a show in Lagos at the same time? How many people are in the hall? How many people are in Lagos? There are 20 million people in Lagos. And so if you organize a show in Ikeja, another person organizes a show in Muson Center, how does that affect the number of people in Lagos that would like that kind of entertainment? It's very scanty. It's a drop in the number of people that probably would like comedy, which is why when you see that a comedy show holds, like AY's comedy show or Basket Mouse comedy show at the Hotel, it is sold out and people are outside trying to get in. And the hall just sits only 4,000 people, but people are fighting to get in.
Wow. So there's nothing like too many comedy shows in a year.
No, we're not overflogging it at all. We're not overflogging it. And some of these musicians know that if those kind of shows don't happen, they'll have to wait till Christmas before they then take part in a show.
All right. What's the best lesson you would teach your younger self? What's your real name, sir?
My real name is Atunyota Akpobyokobo Apoludome.
You know, when you say this, a lot of people actually don't believe, right?
Oh no,
so
a lot of people don't believe. No, this is Atunyota. Atunyota is pronounceable. It's like just like a Toyota. Atunyota. Instead of you change it to you, Atunyota, and it means. Let's be honest. Like tell me the truth. Like Kasuto, or like many people will say Terata, and it is. It's a name that was given to me because when I was born after several girls, and when my dad was told that he now had a son, he wanted the person to be honest with him because he rode all the way from Abraka to Warri, where I was born, and then it took a whole day's journey. They set out at about 6 a.m. and he got to the hospital at about 6 p.m. in the evening. That was a 12-hour journey to Warri. So that's why I was named that Toyota. And then my grandmother then named me Hallelujah, which we then later shortened to Ali. And then just like somebody who's called Benjamin is called Ben. So Hallelujah was shortened to Ali. And then later on, when the show started coming, it was turned to Alibaba.
Okay, so let's go back to your real name, right? So let's say, what's the best lesson you would teach your younger self? So let's say your name is not Alibaba. You're a young guy coming up. You want to figure out your life. What's that advice you are going to give your younger self? Because I know there are a lot of Alibabas actually somewhere in Nigeria, somewhere watching us right now. What is that advice you are going to give your younger self?
Well, the advice that I'll give to my younger self is that take advantage of every platform. Be prepared for everything. It's like make sure that you have the extra oil, just like the story of the 10 maidens. Always have the extra oil. Let me tell you why you need to have the extra oil. Whatever platform is open, if you're not prepared for that platform, you'll be left in the dust. So I will tell my younger self that as soon as you see that a platform has come up, jump into that platform, learn the ropes of that platform, and take advantage of it. Many years ago, when disk engineering started giving out pagers, I got myself Mohammed Danjuma and TA pagers because it was the only way that we could communicate since we didn't have mobile phones at the time. There were some people who thought we were just being out overreaching. What are you doing with a pager? You are not a doctor. You're not. But then people started sending messages to us, and we were top of the pack. Nearly, in fact, in the whole of amongst entertainers at the time, we probably were the only ones who had those pagers. But we knew what business was. Now, I will also tell my younger self to advertise and promote himself. Why I'm saying that is that back in the days, I did billboards. This was in the 90s, early 90s, 93, 94, 95, 96. I did billboards in Lagos. Wow. When companies in Lagos were not even thinking of doing billboards. So I did 3 billboards. I did one where Sanwo-Olu's house is now at near Bonny Camp, near Officers Mess. I did one at Foreshore Towers, and then I did one where you have Civic Center right now. And the reason I put that one by Civic Center is that when you're coming from that road, from 1004, that's from Zenith Roundabout, and you're driving towards the junction, you will see the billboard right away. And it was a 43-sheet billboard. Anybody who is into advertising will tell you what the cost of a 43-sheet billboard at the time was 210,000 naira.
Wow.
And in 1994 and 1995, 210,000 naira was not moi.
So that let's say 210,000 naira is like about like 2 million.
Let's say 2 million, about like 2 million naira now. But you see, a lot of people will now ask, how would you? Because a lot of people did not know how much I was earning. And one thing too is continue to keep some things like that private. People who did not know how much I was earning at the time were making assumptions. Live above assumptions. Live above assumptions. Do what you're doing. Because I give somebody an example. That time people didn't know how much I was earning. Now, when these young comedians came and the young comedians started living large, somebody asked me a question and said, wait, if these boys are making this kind of money now, Ali, you that was there before them, then it means that you must have been making so much money before they came. Don't forget that. People were saying, oh, it's because he married a banker. Did AY marry a banker? Did Bobby marry a banker? Did Basketmouth marry a banker? Did Julius marry a banker? You see, people do not know how much money is in comedy. So what you need to do is that when you want to go into a business, study the people so this is for my younger self, study the people that are in the business. And if the people in the business are not doing it as you should do it, then do something else.
All right.
Break the rules.
Yeah. So you said something about joining new platforms, right? You're saying that to your younger self.
Yes.
You are above 50 now, if I am correct. You are way above.
If you're talking about my weight, yes, but I'm younger than 50.
So at your age now, I'm sure you struggle with things like, I know you don't struggle with Instagram, but I'm sure you will struggle with things like TikTok and Thriller because of
yes. I used to struggle with TikTok, but my children have put me through now. The other thing that what's that one that they do that it doesn't last longer than like 24 hours?
TikTok.
No, before TikTok though. No, there's one before TikTok that it starts with an Snapchat.
Snapchat, okay.
Snapchat. So they told me about Snapchat. I was like, it doesn't say me. I want something that I would put out and people can come back and revisit it and learn. So I didn't go for that. I was in high five when it came. I've been on different platforms when they came. And I begin to weigh the value propositions of anything before I get into it. When Twitter came, I got into Twitter. And if you remember clearly, my tweets then were in capital letters because
I remember
found out that everybody was writing anything. And when anybody retweets your tweets, it was hard to tell which one was yours or which one was. It's not now that they've put tweets in caps, in capsules, so that you then know who tweeted what. But then when you tweet and you retweet somebody's tweet, somebody has to read, and most people don't even take time to read and say, okay, this looks like the one he said. And so I used to just tweet in caps. So if anybody retweets me, you know that it is mine. So the best thing is always try to differentiate yourself. Try to differentiate yourself. Let the people who relate with you know your brand. For instance, you won't see me tweet pornography. You won't see me tweet vulgar issues. It is not that I don't speak vulgarity. I'm very fluent in those languages, but I would not put it up. I'm very, very fluent in it, but so I won't put it up in an open platform. But that does not say that I can't speak it. It's like saying people who do not drive recklessly don't know how to drive recklessly. No, they know how to drive recklessly. People who do not commit crimes, it's not that they don't know how to commit crime. They know how to commit crime. They just decide not to. So for me, I learned how to use all of those new medium a new media. I believe that even when blogging started, I started blogging. Then I found out that people did not like to read plenty.
Yeah.
They prefer the blogs that put the picture and writes a caption. That's all. But I like to write more than 2, 3, 4 paragraphs. And so I knew that the kind of blogging people wanted to enjoy was not the type that I wanted to do. So I left blogging for a while because I had a blog then, the Book of Ali. The Book of Ali was my blog, but I left it because a lot of people didn't want to read plenty. So I started using Instagram. Twitter too limited me at the time because you couldn't write much on Twitter. But when Instagram came, blood of God, thank you. When
you
came,
can actually write.
Us.
You can actually write now more on Instagram, on Twitter, because you can.
Yes, you could write 3 times more. Yeah, you could write 3 times more than you used to write on Twitter. Yes. But taking advantage of new technology is very important to grow. Yeah.
So I know you have this. Who is that person that you think has influenced you a lot? Because someone like you that is like the leader of what you are doing right now, you look back and feel like there's nobody in front of you, right? Well, I'm sure there are a lot of people around the world, or whether in Nigeria, that have influenced you. So who is that person you can say has influenced you very well?
You see, I'm the kind of person who depends on positive influences. I depend on positive vibes. And so if the person influencing me is the coach of Liverpool, he doesn't have to be in my industry. If the person influencing me has to be Sani, though he plays in Liverpool, it will still influence me. If the person influencing me is Kobe Bryant, he would influence me even we are not in the same industry. So there's so many people, and so you can talk to somebody like Richard Mofe-Damijo. Richard Mofe-Damijo, his influence on me has been from the time that I watched him as MC, because when I came on the scene, I was just a comedian. And then I would go with him to events and I would see how he would anchor the event and spice it up with humor. He was not a comedian, just like a lot of people at the time. They were not comedians, but they were people who have great sense of humor. And so I also learned from that. Then I met Bisi Olatilo. Bisi Olatilo was a linguist, a multilinguist. Bisi spoke Hausa, he spoke Igbo, he spoke Igbo. I could speak Igbo, I could speak Yoruba. Hausa was just my problem. So Bisi influenced me in that regard. Then you had people like Jim Lawson Madweke. Jim Lawson Madweke was a newscaster. Now, Jim Lawson Madweke is a newscaster, but he influenced me in the sense that his diction and pronunciation of a lot of words were something you could take away and then use when you are working as an MC. And then there were people whose writing, like Reepu, like Dele Momodu, like the Ibe Kachuku, so a lot of people like that. Then he Inakimio. These are people whose writing influenced me, and I could read them and just use what they've written and make myself better. Then there was somebody who influenced me in photography. There were 2 people. There was somebody, most people did not know that I used to be a cartoonist at Fame magazine in those days. There was a guy who was a cartoonist then. His name is Sonya. So Sonya left. When Sonya left, because I was still hustling, I went there and I was doing the cartoons for them. So I liked the kind of things that he did. Then Charlie Boy too. Charlie Boy influenced me because Charlie Boy was a photographer, Charlie Boy was a writer, Charlie Boy was a musician, Charlie Boy was a producer, and Charlie Boy was the producer of a television show at the time, the Charlie Boy Show. So my influences were on a general scale. All I wanted was to pluck everything from different people. There was another guy called Lai Arasomi who taught me about television production. He was in NTA at the time, Lai Arasomi. He pulled me close and taught me the ropes. I worked with a guy called Johnson when we were building sets. I was a set designer because I could draw. I was a set designer, so we were building the stage and sets for television program. And Johnson, this man had hair like Don King at the time, and he taught me how to build sets. Then Don Baba was a photographer, and I learned from him and Uncle Steve. Uncle Stumi Smart Cole. I learned how to I was a photographer as well. But you see, all of this, I found out that because Nigeria was not prepared for a lot of all those people to make money.
Yeah.
I then focused on stand-up comedy because I saw the need and I saw the vacuum, and so I focused on stand-up comedy. To your point, it is important that you know what you're good at, so that you can develop yourself greatly. Yes.
Okay. Someone will say, when you started, it's good that you mentioned a lot of names, right? So these are people that inspired you. These are people that influenced different things in your life. Do I influence you as a Manchester United fan? You know, Manchester United to an Arsenal fan. Do I influence you as a Manchester United fan?
No, you can't influence me because you're not used. Okay, wait, let me get that. You can't influence me because I want to hit that place. Wait, I want to hit on that point. You know, you can't influence me because you are not used to long suffering. I'm used to long suffering. So it's people who, if somebody wants to influence me, for instance, if you were invincible, you would have influenced me. You're not invincible, so you can't influence me. But the thing is that, the thing is, I like the passion. That's the other thing. People influence me with the kind of passion that they have for their clubs.
Yeah.
There are some people who can shout from here to tomorrow. Oh, Man United. They've not bought one jersey to support the club. They also have not been to Old Trafford once. That's even talking about. So if you're supporting a club, I started supporting Arsenal before the Premiership started. I started supporting Arsenal in 1984.
Wow.
Because at that time, nearly all the military men were supporting Arsenal.
Different kind of emotions in life. You're a strong man, sir. You're a very strong man. You've been through different emotions in life. You're a very strong man, sir. I appreciate you. These times are very trying times, especially with this coronavirus. Yeah. It is time that people begin to give value to those who deserve the honor. Yeah.
A lot of times, I remember those days when we started doing stand-up comedy, and I won't forget this, and I keep saying it. I went to a place called Jalupo Crescent. It's off Adenino Gusanya. I went to see one girl that I was liking at the time. When the mother saw me, she used to work in IMB. IMB was the bank that was around Falomo at the time. Yeah. She was working in this, and she was driving an Amazon, Volkswagen Amazon. That's the name of the car she was driving. I didn't have a car at the time because I was hustling. And then when the mother saw me, the mother spoke Yoruba and said, that is, I've told you not to bring this clown to this house. Because at that time, the mom wanted her to marry some boy who was living well. But don't forget that at that time, 419 was very strong in Nigeria. 419 was the in thing.
So 419 now didn't just start today?
No, 419 started from the days of Fred Ajidwa, before then. So anyway, so what I'm trying to say is that the respect for professions should, if overseas, comedians earn more than some doctors. Overseas, comedians and in fact entertainers earn more than some people in these sectors that are now saving us. So the health sector that was ignored, all these politicians are now depending on the health sector that they don't. The commissioner for health before was just the commissioner for health, but now the commissioner for health is more important than the secretary to the government, more important than the deputy governor. Yeah. The commissioner for health now is more important than the commissioner for finance.
Yeah.
You understand? So now the value proposition on that person will grow.
Has shifted.
Don't forget. Now, let me even tell you another thing that will shift. Oil is coming down to $10 or $15 per barrel. If oil comes down to 10, you and I have had conversations about how tourism would have saved Nigeria.
Yeah, definitely.
You and I have talked about if there are camel races that are happening in Saudi Arabia and they are paying a camel $32 million. $32 million for the winner of a camel race.
Yeah.
Why can't we? And we have camels in the north. What do we use them for? We eat them for tiko and meat. We just eat them and use them to carry load from one place to the other. You understand? Meanwhile, we could actually then develop the camels, develop a sport or activity or a festival around the camels. We have mountains. we do not develop our mountains to even make them tourist attractions. Apart from Obudu Ranch in this country, there are hardly places that you can still go to relax that are like mountainous. So you have that kind of, if you come out of a room in Obudu, you are surrounded by clouds. Sometimes you open your door and clouds will come in. That is in Obudu. We have that kind of place in Obudu. How much are we doing to promote the tourism that we have in our country? There's okay, now we're just beginning to wake up to the marathon. The marathon has been held in Lagos now for nearly 8 years. Now, that marathon that is being held is in Lagos. Why can't we have a swimming competition in the Niger Delta? Why can't we have a mountain climbing competition in Ekiti or in Osun State? But you have those kind of things in this place. You have the Zuma Rock that is in Abuja. How many sporting activities have been organized around the Zuma Rock for people to climb? You have bodies of water all across this country. We have beach. The beach across this, the beaches that we have across this, sorry, I said beach. The beaches that we have across this, our coastal area, it's enough for us to generate more money than we even make from oil. We have failed in doing that because, for instance, Saudi Arabia and all those Asian countries and Middle Eastern countries have used their crude oil to develop those other sectors. So those other sectors are now making more money for them. So they're not fully dependent on oil.
Yeah.
So we are in such a situation now. Maybe this will open our eyes. Somebody posted a picture lately that showed the ICPC building, that showed EFCC building, CBN building, National Assembly. Look at how beautiful all those places are. Meanwhile, the hospitals are still the way they were in 1970s. That is to tell you that we have neglected a lot of things.
So this brings me to my next question, which is very important. If you're a politician, let's say you're a governor today, and let me not put you at that level. Let me put you at the presidency level, because I know from what I know, you perform for almost all the presidents, the dangerous ones, the not so dangerous ones. So if you were
from IBB, only from IBB, so that's not so dangerous. IBB.
Okay, so for IBB.
Okay.
Do you perform for Abacha?
Yes, I did. I performed for Abacha. In fact, Abacha
was.
How
were you cracking the joke to him? Like you were not scared. Like you can say something that you say.
Oh no. There was one time that I did. There was some time that I said something that I thought was going to backfire, but thank God for Abacha and Al Mustafa. Which was how Mustafa and I became friends anyway. Yes.
So you survived that. I mean, you survived a lot of things. So if you are a national fan and you perform for Abacha, you perform for Babangida, right? You perform for Olusegun Obasanjo. You perform for Musa Yar'Adua. I say you have a tough shit, so that's why you see I'm connected. So if you were a politician today and you were in a position of authority or to change things, what would be that thing that you are going to do first to create? We are all complaining as Nigerians. We all don't like what is going on in the country, right?
If I become the president, the first thing I will change is the constitution.
Wow.
The first thing I will change is the constitution, and how I will change the constitution is I will make sure that every state caters for itself.
Okay.
But I will do a buyout fund. I will say every state will get 2 billion now, and then you go and start fending for yourself, and then from whatever you generate in your state, you must give the federal government 40%. That is what I will do. And if I do that, if you do that, you see groundnut pyramids will come back. But you see what is happening now is that the governor of Taraba, the governor of Yobe, the governor of Jigawa, and the governor of all those places in the north, they are all waiting for that money from Abuja. They will spread it, steal the one they want to steal, put their dollars they want to put in their agbada, and then wait for the next one. But what I will do is that if I become president, I will get my people in the National Assembly. But you see, that is the problem that we have. The National Assembly would not want to do that kind of thing because they know that their own state will begin to suffer. There are some people that are in the Senate now. If we said the state should pay the senators and the House of Reps members that they are sending to National Assembly, they can't pay them.
Yeah.
So you have a state like Jigawa that has sent or Ubi that has sent 3-4 senators to Abuja, and there are 3 senators are in Abuja earning much more than the state is earning. As internally generated revenue. So how do you think that kind of senator would move a motion for their state to be fending for themselves? So they will not. The best thing that has happened to Nigeria, a lot of people can complain, is that military has given us 3 constitutions. The 3 constitutions that we're working with now were done by military people because the military people decided this is what will be, and that was what was. If you decide that you want to use the present National Assembly to change the constitution, they will never do it. They will never do it because they know that once you change that constitution, their powers will finish. They will go broke. The only states that can sustain their senators, pay for your senators and send them to National Assembly, would be Akwa Ibom, Delta, Bayelsa, Rivers, Lagos, and Ogun maybe. All the other people that are depending on government to bring money first before they can do anything, they will go broke. For instance, Anambra can survive without federal government for like 4 months because they have Onitsha market. The number of nearly a month, I think the tax that is generated to the coffers of the
you don't think
Anambra state government.
You don't think Abia State?
Abia too. Yes, that's what I'm saying. The amount of money they generate from their market every month should be up to about like $1 billion or 2 billion. You know, but internally generated revenues are for the governors to chop. It's for the governors to chop. So it's not for so the governors then know what they do with that internally generated revenue. What we always talk about is what the federal government has given to them.
Wow.
So if I become president, that is what I will do. I will change the constitution and make sure that the person that is in Bauchi is not depending on the money that is coming from Bayelsa to survive, or the money that is coming from River State, and then River State can begin to. But then I will then make sure that EFCC and ICPC is located in those states, and the transparency in the state and the funding of the state and the talent generated revenue and everything will be serious. And any governor that then doesn't use the funds that he's generated will be jailed.
Okay. I have 3 more questions for you before we close this session. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. There's this movement you've been going on with on social media, which is you post a lot of people wearing purple, right? Is that the color?
Oh, okay.
It's a purple movement.
Yeah,
so
purple.
What is that about?
Yeah. Okay, first of all, purple is about royalty. That's the color that I've chosen. What is it called? Nobody is complaining that Debola is wearing white and red cap. Like Debola is like a white pencil with eraser.
Yeah.
So nobody is complaining about Debola wearing that. But for me, it's that I like purple, and so once in a while I've talked about all the serious stuff, I just post a lot of those things. Let me tell you one interesting thing. There was one time I posted a purple, and one guy said I shouldn't be posting purple again, that it's only gay men that wear purple. And then one time he celebrated his pastor.
And his pastor was wearing purple?
No, his pastor was not wearing purple. So I remember that there was a time the pastor wore purple. So I posted it and I tagged him. I said, "Is your pastor gay?" You see, a lot of people do not understand. Like there was a time in 2000, it's 2000, 2004 or 5, I bought my Dodge Ram. I bought this Dodge Ram and I put my name on it, Alibaba 1. There was this guy, he's a media person, nearly from your state. He saw me and said, "Alibaba, this is just vain. This is not necessary. You are showing off. It's not good. Why can't you just put your number on a truck? You are an entertainer. You should respect yourself." Hey, Ubi. 5 years later, and I mean this, 5 years later, I was at Platinum Bank. This same guy drove his truck, a Tundra, and he had written his the name of his company on the truck. So I called him. I said, "Oh boy, Chebi, you are the one that told me that it is vanity. It does not speak well of you to drive a personalized number plate on your car." He said, that time he didn't know. A lot of people that complain about certain things do not know the value of the thing, but they'll just complain. It's just like some people who say, "Oh, when London is just 6 hours, why would you fly first class? Why not fly premium economy and use the money to do something else?" Because the person does not know the comfort of that 6 hours. At least if you fly business class, if you've flown business class before, the day you sit in economy, you will know that you have to work hard to make sure that you always fly business class.
Definitely, I know that.
So the point is, I choose the color purple because it was one of the very first colors that I got attracted to in 1984, 1985, thereabout. Yes. So that's why I post pictures like that. Yeah.
So you're a photographer?
Yes, I am.
There's something we all see also on your Instagram. You love heavy duty trucks, or would I say you love trucks? You love big cars.
Yes, I do.
What's your love for that?
Two things. One is you're safer in a bigger vehicle than in a smaller vehicle. You're safer in a bigger vehicle than in a smaller vehicle. The impact, for instance, if a Hummer and a Camry hit, you are safer because the ground clearance of your car, first of all, reduces the impact for you. The second thing is that I like Hummer vehicles and most of all these four-wheel drive because it's multifunctional. A small car may not be able to drive past the bad places. That's why you see some people. Have you noticed that there are some people when they are driving small cars and they drive to where there's water, they turn off the AC. They say, "I don't want."
Yeah.
You know that thing. But you can drive a four-wheel drive or a lifted vehicle past any water. It doesn't even. Would you still be blowing your AC and blowing anything that you want to? That said, the durability of an SUV is for me is better. It's much better than the smaller car. And then the space. I like space. I don't like, which is why I don't like a G-Wagon. There was one politician that dashed me a G-Wagon one time, and let me just say this: when you sit in a G-Wagon, if you put your elbow like this, you can hit the other person's head.
Yeah,
because it's compact.
I think the newer ones are different. Are designed different.
The newer ones have just 2 inches wider. They're just 2 inches wider inside. Just 2 inches wider inside. But usually, the width of that also makes sure that it then has ground clearance, the balance. The balance is then better because the wider the car, the more balance it gets. For me too, I also like the fact that when you sit in an SUV, I don't like getting into a car and it looks like I'm going to the ground. I would like to sit like I'm sitting upright.
But you have an S-Class.
Yes, I have an S-Class, and truly, the beauty of that S-Class is in driving it. It's not being driven.
Okay.
Yes, the beauty of the S-Class is in driving it. It's not being driven. So most times I take it on because I'm also a road marshal, so I can't speed too much. But once in a while, as you said, I take it on third mainland. I go on third mainland, open up the valves, and then come back and park it.
So you have a very impressive real estate portfolio.